Good morning. Thank you very much. Please be seated. It's a pleasure to be here today. I have never been to the platform, and I'm very impressed with what I see. I'm hoping to come for the platform event. This is the CEO event. To be mentored by the plethora of great people that I've seen online coming to share on the platform. Today I'll be speaking about building with resilience, and I will be taking a lot from what we built at CWG PLC. I know you know us as Computer Warehouse Group, but you know IBM used to be International Business Machines, IBM. NCR was National Cash Register, NCR. So we now call ourselves as CWG PLC. But it doesn't matter. Computer Warehouse Group will do fine. We started in 1992, and why building with resilience resonates with me is that by 1993 we had the impasse, the June 12 election cancellation, and our young company was floating with no real prospects. Many companies died. And it is that resilience that we leverage on that I want to share with you today. So the outline will be in 5 places, and I'll try to fit it within the time. The CWG story is a story of audacity, a story of grit and belief, audacity to dream, grit to execute the dream, and believe in God to guide our steps. But you cannot ask God to guide your steps if you are not ready to move your feet. Without commitment, you will not start. And without consistency, you will not finish. So let me start with The challenges in emerging markets. We know them. We can choose to lament about them, or we can acknowledge them and find a way around them. Eventually they will be resolved, but we cannot wait until they are resolved before we do business. More often than not, people focus on this and they say, well, it's too risky. We can't do business here. Let me just japa and go and do work somewhere overseas. But in every opportunity, in every challenge, there's an opportunity. I also know that some of the things are quite an issue and need to be resolved. For instance, security. We just need to solve that security. I was sitting beside Bismarck, and we spoke about some of the things that dampen the progress we're making, like power. We really need to resolve power. But like I say, in every challenge, there's an opportunity. In fact, the Chinese use the same expression for challenge and opportunity. Challenge is written in Mandarin as door of opportunity. And that's the whole point about looking at that opportunity and creating a situation. Some of the challenges are being resolved. The multiple tax issue with the tax reform, we're hoping that that will be a thing of the past. The regional challenges in terms of barriers to trade with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we believe that significantly will be resolved. And then you have a market of 1.3 billion people and $3.4 trillion. So let me talk about the entrepreneurial journey. I'm not so sure, so nobody said that the path to business will be smooth. I don't think that anybody has been on a business journey that is as smooth as that first diagram there. There are always ups and downs. But the headwinds are balanced by tailwinds. For instance, you can see a rope that will take you across. Focus on the solutions, and that's where you are going to see that you overcome the challenges. We say when you fall 7 times, stand up 8. So it's not going to be smooth, but with perseverance, we can create what we have dreamt of. And of course, the guidance of God. The question is, how do you build a company that stands the test of time in our environment? You know, the intellectual property rights are a bit weak and evolving. Competition is cutthroat. But you have to look at what you can create that the world of tomorrow will need. And I'll give you a simple example. Ask any woman. They have 2 shoes when they are going to the office. One to drive and one to look tall in the office. I mean, a common solution would be to create a sturdy shoe which is dainty enough with a retractable heel. So you're going to the office, you push in the heel, and you get to the office, you pull out the heel. This is a crude example of why innovation is not necessarily technology. Solve simple problems and create a business around it. So let me talk about CWG PLC. It's a fascinating story because it's a story that will be a beacon to people that are sitting here to say, if Austin Okere could do it, then I can do it. Sometimes when we hear about Apple and Amazon and so on, they seem so far removed that we feel it's not for me. But here is a story that could be your story, and your own story probably will be much better, much more impactful. For me, it's about impact. So what is our mantra? What is the mindset that makes you succeed? Well, the most important thing is to have a mindset of in spite of. Everybody is here on time, but we know there's traffic in Lagos. There are 2 people. One person says, because there's traffic, I couldn't make it on time. And the other one says, in spite of the traffic, here I am on time. And the mindset of in spite of is the one that really wins any day. So anytime you are tempted to use the phrase because of, substitute it with in spite of. We also treat everybody, sometimes we micromanage, we're scared, they'll steal from us. And so people behave in that same mentality in which you hold them. But in CWG, we treat everybody as an owner so that they look at the business in an ownership mindset. But you have to lead by example. If you're stealing from government, don't be surprised that your people will steal from you. If you're stealing from the company, you set up a small business, don't be surprised that they will also steal from you. So lead by example, and you can treat people with a mindset. As I said, we started the business in 1992. So let me start from there. I've broken that into the periods where we started. So this is 1992, a chunk of it. I've told you about the Dune Trust and what happened at the June 12th and what then we had to do. What kept us going, and I can tell you for free, is trust. It sounds innocuous, but there are 5 tailors. Where would you take your clothes to? The one you trust. You have an event on Sunday. The one says it will be ready on Saturday. The one says, Madam, Sunday will not be possible, so you take it somewhere else. But that's the one you take your next clothes to, because it told you that Sunday will not be possible. CWG used trust as a differentiation, and it gave our customers the confidence to trust us with more of their adjacent businesses. And that was a boom for us. We didn't have to go chasing business. People say, if you want a company that you can trust, go to CWG. So my first message is, do you trust yourself? Do you trust the company you have founded? That is the only way that the customers will trust you. That's the first one, trust. Let me go to the next chapter that covers from 2000 to 2003. And this was a period of rapid scaling in Nigeria. I don't know how many people were here during that time. I think OBJ had just won election in 1999. It was giddy days. Stock exchange was blowing. It was fantastic to be in Nigeria at that time. So we in technology, we benefited from something called Y2K. Maybe people are young, you may not know Y2K. They say planes will fall from the sky, banking will come to a standstill. So everybody was chasing technology companies to make us Y2K compliant. I'm not going to lie, we benefited a lot from that. So here we were, trying to make people Y2K compliant. But I think the thing that we saw during this period of significance, and look for those significant events to take advantage of them, was the telecoms boom. We had before that intercellular, multi-links, whatever. But now we had GSM. And God bless Ernest Ndukwe for that successful GSM launch in Nigeria. We had 90% penetration instead of just 400,000 lines for 200 million people. And many people will not know it, that a lot of the businesses, the unicorns and so on, are riding on this GSM technology and the technology boom. So whenever you think about fintech, your banks, always remember the foundation. And we took a big advantage of that opportunity as well. Let me roll forward to the years between 2004 and 2007. And those years were really rosy years. We had serious economic boom. For those that remember, there was something called bank consolidation in 2005. We had something like 87 banks, let me call them banklets. And it wasn't clear how they would withstand a stress test. And thanks to Governor Soludo, who then said, listen, let's deepen our banks, make them strong, and we'll collapse the 87 into 25. And that's also part of the advantages that CWG benefited from. And when I say advantages, forever and ever, these things will happen. Cycles of opportunity. Remember what I told you, the Chinese use the same word for opportunity and challenge. And we were, at that time, in 2000, we signed with a company in India called Infosys for a banking application called Finacle. And in that bank consolidation, banks were looking for new applications to make them salient. And we sold Finacle to almost, our first order for Finacle were to 3 banks. Oceanic Bank, Standard Trust Bank, and Commerce Bank. 3 at a time. Each copy $250 million. Eventually, it became $10 million per copy. So that's a headwind. So those were the rosy years. And we went into ATMs as well. At that time, there were no ATMs. We signed with a company called Wincor. And from our ATM business, we were making $35 million per year. Of course, a private equity company took interest in us and invested in us called Orios Capital. The CWG was riding the storm. So we got noticed by World Economic Forum. I was invited to be on the World Economic Forum on the Global Agenda Council for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. But what was outstanding for me was that the CWG case became a case study at Columbia Business School in New York. They have so many African students, few African cases. So when they approached us and they wanted to write a case study about us, we said, yes, why not? They said, not so fast. They embedded the people in our company for 2 weeks, about half a dozen people visiting regulators, visiting our competition, visiting our customers, because those cases stand the test of time, and they don't want to hear after the case has been written, this company was crooked. So there's a very rigorous process. But I'm proud that we put Nigeria on the map. And if you go to Columbia today to do your MBA, there's a course called Foundations of Entrepreneurship. And the case for that is a CWG case study from Nigeria. But that was not the end. Another Ivy League you may know is MIT in Boston. So MIT also came calling, and they wanted to write a case on CWG. And I'm like, gosh, is there something these people are seeing that we're not seeing? But they went even further because they were sponsored by the MasterCard Foundation. So they wrote a case study, but they also did a video case study, which is on YouTube. Look for it. It's very interesting. And I think that sometimes we chase clout. No. Do what you need to do, and clout will follow you. But when you chase clout, it's like chasing a butterfly. Be clear about the offer of your business to the community, to your customers, and be the best at it, and clout will follow you. Let me roll to the years of 2008 to 2010. You know, it's never smooth all the way. So this was where there were severe macroeconomic shocks. I don't know who remembers what we call the prime, what is property prime, whatever that happened in America. Subprime. Somebody, Bismarck, I know you know this one. Subprime. I mean, it was a shock. It was a shock. I've never felt so stressed. Our business had not come close to dying at this time. It was not only Pep that was holding his head. All of us were holding our head in CWG. But what happened? The good thing is, because private equity was looking at us, at the time of our need, Orios Capital injected $10 million into our company for 17%. And that was key in keeping us going. Why do I say it was key? Because the ATM business, of which we're making $35 million per year, when the Emir, governor of Central Bank, abolished or banned ATMs outside bank branches, we had container loads of ATM warehouses, and the banks canceled their orders because they didn't know where they're going to put them. I agree that the ATMs in public places were a nuisance, but I think that there could have been a different way of doing it. And our ATMs were stranded. And in order to come back to what to do, that money helped us. We then changed the business strategy. Always look for the opportunity in the challenge. Instead of selling ATMs, we started giving the ATMs as a service to banks, because eventually the ban was rescinded, and we're sharing transactions with the banks. It was much more profitable than selling the ATMs, but we would not have known that. And then we said, okay, great, we've learned our lesson, let's diversify. So we diversified products, we went into hardware, software, communications. We diversified geography, we did Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Cameroon. And we said, well, but we need a liaison office for international correspondence. So we started our Dubai office, and we diversified sector. We went into oil and gas, telecoms, and banking. Because there's no way all this would tank at the same time or float at the same time. So challenges were there. There were even more challenges. If I go to the years 2011 to 2012, there was serious technology disruption. This was when fiber was coming into Nigeria. And I had something called VSAT, very small aperture terminals. I had a big network operating center in Lekki. And out of the 25 banks, 23 were riding on our VSAT. In fact, it was so good, we were making $4 million per year in profit only on VSAT. And then fiber came. For those that have ever used VSAT, if you use fiber, you never use VSAT again. You know, when it rains, your DSTV goes down. Similar with VSAT KU band. C band, the rain will not take it down, very expensive. So again, I was stranded. We're stranded, but remember, we're diversified our business. So it's one particular box of business. From making $4 million profit per year, we started making $2 million loss per year. But we then now look for the opportunity in the challenge. The company that was taking our customers was MTN. So I went to MTN and I said, why are you stressing? I will give you these customers by, just don't even stress. The only thing, let's share revenue. So I'll do the support. You take 80%, I'll take 20%. And then we became what we call virtual network operator to MTN. We also use our hub in Lekki for what we call they're trying to do broadcasting from white spaces. So there are challenges, but always look for the opportunity in the challenges. Let me jump to 2013. Sorry, I'm going very fast because I'm told that we need to finish quickly. 2013 is when we listed our shares on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a week before Twitter listed. We're still there. Twitter is gone. X has taken over. So we played the long game. And I'm talking about listing from two sides of my mouth. It's not for every company. You need to determine whether this is for you. But for a company which is looking at sustainability and unlocking value, I think it's one of the most viable ways of doing that. I mean, you'll see in a minute why. But it gives you liquidity. You go to the exchange, you sell your shares if you want, you can buy, other people can buy and sell. The prices go up or down based on your performance. It's like walking naked in the marketplace. So if you have things to hide, maybe listing is not for you. And in that same 2013, if you look at what we did, I started the business with $35,000 in 1992. $35,000. When we listed, it was $90 million valuation, which means that the returns is 2,500 times. So, Yomi, if you are putting $1,000 then, on the day of listing, it will be $2.5 million. But you didn't put in $1,000. I don't see your name on that list. But it's like that. That's the value you create. Creating this value is not just only for you. It's also for the community at large. So that's what has happened. If you look at the market, a lot of people that have bought CWG shares, they'll tell you their story. The value is not only for us. Customers that are being served, suppliers we buy from, and people that benefit from the company. Sometimes you really need to give up to go up. You need to let go of your comfort zone and make some trade-offs. Explore new opportunities to create realities that are better than where you are coming from. These are some of the problems that hold us back. You always say yes, even when the answer is no. You're pleasing people. We always clutch off onto what we have, but by doing that, you cannot go further up. You need to be a bit more, look for significance. And then we're always looking at quarter to quarter to quarter. If you look at the Chinese, why they are successful is that they play the long game. They do something, they expect the result in 5 years, 10 years. In the American system, 3 quarters, they'll sack you. But we prefer the long game. So these are the trade-offs I made. And what was the result? So I got invited to the EY Entrepreneur of the Year. I was a finalist. I've told this story before. And we got noticed. I got invited to the World Economic Forum, to Columbia Business School. And I became an entrepreneur in residence at Columbia Business School. I go in summer, in spring, and in fall to teach the course of Foundations of Entrepreneurship with Professor Lowe. It's a badge that I wear with great pride. And sometimes people that have been through my class in Columbia will call and say, listen, I just listed my company and it's 2 billion valuation. I say, wow, teachers, you teach, and then. All right, so let me shift gears a little, leave computer warehouse or CWG case study, and come with some things that I think will help you. So I call it impact and responses. People react differently to impact. Sometimes when you are in that red environment, you just give up. This Nigeria is hard. Then you begin to devise shortcuts, begging people with all sorts of interesting stories. The stories are very innovative, but eventually you probably would have gone around begging everybody. In that red space, you really need to get out of the mindset of defeat. Think about in spite of. Do not lean on because of. If you do that, you get into the blue space. The blue space is the zone of fear. So I want to do something, but I lack confidence. And that confidence that you're lacking stems from a lack of critical and innovative thinking. You blame somebody, you can blame anybody. It doesn't change your circumstances. And then you may go to the yellow space. That is the space of learning. That is why you are here. What do I need to know to be better? And in that yellow space, you augment possibilities and create new realities. Yes, we honor the past, but we challenge the present in order to create the future. The space you really want to get into is the green space. That's the zone of growth. You refine your purpose. Sit back, reflect, refine your purpose. Set new goals. Not too big, but when you achieve, then you set other goals. And then execute relentlessly. I realize that our problem is execution. People set new goals. This 2026, my New Year resolution, I'll go to the gym, I'll lose weight. 1 week, they'll go to the gym. Second week, this night, if I miss it, nothing will happen. And once you start missing, then you start execute relentlessly. And that's how you are going to achieve those goals that you set. And then have an accountability. Do a check, an audit. How did I do today? How did I do last week? Could I have done anything better? Do that audit so that you have the course correct if things are not going in the right direction. But I think before you start this, there has to be a mindset shift, that transforms into the kind of progress and a future that you envision, for yourself. Like I say, the biggest threat to success is success itself. You cannot pretend to be hungry when you are not. So don't eat and be full. Leave some space. Be humble. Stay hungry and then stay humble. And then you see how the magic happens. Let's look at what then happens when you've been able to do that. Then you begin to look at the turns, what I talk about in the opportunities and the cycles of opportunity that came. I talked about Y2K, I talked about banking consolidation, and I talked about telecom boom. There will be other ones. Now we're talking about AI. And when those things happen, they shake the industry, and then you have new leaders. CWG was not always the leader in technology. I had technology companies when I started that I was really admiring. But whenever there's a shake, make sure that you come up on top, like the cream on top of the milk. And that comes from innovation. Think about innovation. It's like a train. If you are at the station waiting for the train, you can stand in front of the train, it will knock you down. You can remain on the platform, and it will leave you behind. You can get onto the train, and then you take a ride into sustainability. So some people say, oh, social media is not for me, AI is not for me. Okay, the train will leave you now. If you learn AI, even if you don't like it, chances are that you keep your job and probably be taking other people's job instead of other people taking your job. Innovation is key to survival because we are comfortable with where we are. But you need to have branches to stretch, and that is like going beyond your comfort zone. Your roots ground you, but the branches help you to grow and reach new heights. And then the question, how do you build a company that stands the test of time? Well, I gave an example of the women's shoes, but you have to look at what the customer of tomorrow will need. There's a gentleman called I Show Speed. I didn't even know that that could be somebody's name. 10 years ago, nobody would have given him a second glance. But today, I Show Speed went to 20 countries. I saw him in Ghana. I saw him in Nigeria. I'm told that he has 50 million followers. So it's not a joking matter. How he portrays you is how 50 million people will see you. So in Ghana, he was received, he was taken to cultural places, and after I Show Speed left Ghana, all the hotels are almost at occupancy. These are opportunities. Like I said, they'll keep coming. I mean, I wasn't in Nigeria when he came. Maybe you have to judge by yourself how the visit of I Show Speed helped or dishelped you. And the same with Nollywood, the same with Afrobeat. You know, these are areas that are innovative areas. They are not in the standard structure of what we knew as when we were growing up. Let me talk about innovation and disruption briefly, get into the roundup. So if you look in all those areas, there are homegrown technologies that have made it in those areas, whether it's agric, whether it's e-commerce, whether you can find yourself somewhere. And if that somewhere you want to find yourself is not there, create it and put it there, like Mr. I Show Speed. Please, you put Mr. in front of his name, or it's just I Show Speed. Okay, all right. So look for where you can make a difference. Where do you see yourself in that value chain? All right, then let me talk about positioning Africa to maximize the future. I'm told to use CWG as an example, and this is what we did. So in our mind, where we're going is to position Africa to maximize the future. What that vision means is Africa. So then you have to act in that manner. And that's why Nigeria is a continent on its own. I mean, I don't know what anybody else thinks. You can't group it with West Africa. 200 million. The next to him is 40 million. No. Nigeria is a continent on its own. So Nigeria is on its own. Then we started, yeah, you are that big. Then we started Ghana for West Africa to make sure that our footprints are there. Uganda for East Africa. Someone says, why not Kenya? Well, don't follow the crowd. Uganda, Idi Amin drove out all the Indians, so there's a gap. Kenya has a very strong Indian community. They have a very strong Indian community, so they are well served. You go there and compete. Since we've been to Uganda 15 years ago, today Uganda contributes 25% of CWG bottom line. Yeah. Cameroon for Central Africa and French-speaking, and of course, Dubai for international relations. So is it a fluke that we started with $35,000 and then we listed at 90 million? Well, we'll see in a minute. But I talked about impact. Whatever you're doing, if it's not impacting people, you are taking a walk in the park. So sometimes you say GDP is this, this is that, the other one is this. We have this reserve. What is the impact on the people? This is the most important thing, the impact on people. What's the impact of CWG? Well, so far, we are contributing $2 billion annually to tax, building hospitals, providing schools, and 67% of banking transactions are done through CWG's Finacle core banking, because 23 of the 27 banks are on Finacle. Let's look at, in terms of empowering people with, so this is CWG as monitored by the Financial Times. In 1 year, CWG stock price has increased by 247%. What does it mean? If you put in 100K January last year, this year it will be 342K. If you put in 10 million, it will be 34.2 million. And if you put in 100 million, that same money will be $343 million. That is impact. That is impact. All right, so that's the end of CWG. Let me end by talk about what gives me satisfaction. CWG is a commercial journey. My cultural journey is what I call the Also Leadership Academy, or ALA. So giving back is to enable businesses and entrepreneurs so that they can grow their businesses and will have shared prosperity. Shared prosperity is better than just one person being rich all the time. We have 1,200 business people that have come to benefit, 45,000 following us on social media that benefit from our shares. I think the most important is that just yesterday we were finishing with the top people of Sterling Bank, and for me that's impact. Let me end by talking about what drives me. Somehow, we've gotten to a cult of worship, of money. We don't realize it. We worship billionaires. It's not billionaires we are worshiping, it's money. For me, I don't think that a billionaire is someone who has amassed $1 billion. No. I think that a billionaire should be someone who has positively, directly or indirectly impacted 1 billion people. So you can speak of Mother Teresa, you can speak of Nelson Mandela, you can speak of Martin Luther King. They do not have $1 billion, but everybody is inspired by, I have a dream. We have chosen this definition of a billionaire. And Forbes magazine is the one that is propagating it. Everybody's scrambling to be the richest man. How much land does a man need? 6 by 6 where they bury you. And with all your billions, you'll be the richest man in the cemetery. How many people did you impact? So let's talk about impact and end on impact. And I think that the most important thing about impact is that every little drop contributes. Do not wait until you can make a lake, every little block. And when you put these drops together, from your little, you get what becomes a mighty ocean. So these two people, Nancy and Tabitha, I met them at the IDP camp at St. Teresa's Catholic Church in the Archdiocese of Yola and adopted them. There's a shift already, you know. Yes, their location is probably not where it's ideal, but in the mind, these kids, the sky is their limit. And you can also do the same and change the life of a kid. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? And my last parting thought, 3 W's. For those that I've spoken to before, you know this already. The 3 W's for me that kept me grounded. One is way power. Whatever you do, make sure you are the best at it. If not the best, keep improving. And that speaks to your aptitude, competence. Then there is willpower. That is attitude. Where everybody says, Austin, give up. Convince yourself that it's time to give up before you give up. Most times, it's not time to give up. The light is at the end of that tunnel. And the last one is weight power. It speaks to patience. You plant cocoa, your neighbor plants corn. 3 months is harvesting his corn. Nothing on your cocoa. You go and cut everything down. And then you plant corn. You will not have anything from your cocoa for 5 years. But after that, it will feed you for life. Thank you very much.
Louder, please.